Hey everybody, it's LaDonna Marie, internationally multi-award winning author, speaker, and personal development life coach of LaDonna Marie Books, where my mission is to discover the champion in you through healing and changing the narrative in your life, one book at a time. You can shop and find out more information at www.ladonnamarie.org and check out the shop page.
Find a nice, cozy chair, relax, and indulge. Author, poetess LaDonna Marie is back with her latest entitled Lessons 2, Mirror Conversations. LaDonna Marie takes us on a journey of character Abby's life while we read of her experiences in beautiful poetic form. Mirror Conversations. From both sides of the mirror, she stands looking at herself, able to see the growth, able to acknowledge the pain, fully healed from past wounds. And looking into the mirror of my soul, determined to be better than my yesterday, conscious of every scar, every battle lost, every struggle, and every victory. Purchase your copy today.
Welcome to Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie, a Planting Positive Seeds podcast.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Planting Positive Seeds with LaDonna Marie. I am Jade, and I will be co-hosting for tonight. Tonight, we have the lovely Dr. Holly Fisher-Hickman. This woman here has 3 degrees, her bachelor's in history, her master's in public history, and her PhD in leadership and educational administration. She's also an educator and historian, trainer/facilitator, and founder with husband of profit organization Learning Healing Institute Incorporated. Also founder and CEO of 2 for-profit ministry and business. Dr. Holly, how are you doing this evening?
I am well, and thank you so much for having me this evening.
The pleasure is all mine. Can we start off with you telling us more about yourself and what you do?
Well, I started when I sent in the form. I wanted to give a little background. So I am an adoptee, a fatherless daughter, but now moving from disconnect to connect. So what does that all mean? That means I am going from deficiency to thriving. As you know that I have the 3 degrees, but even in the process of that, I am a lover of history. You ought to see my face, because when I talk to my students, and I used to call them my kids, I would light up and say, you're going to love it just as much as I do. And they would go, oh, but by the end of the class or semester, they did. I am a person that is willing to be not only a lifelong learner, but someone that now starts honing those natural skills along with the training that I have in order to help somebody else. So I am a person that loves to sleep. Those of you that know me, you will know that I can go to sleep at the drop of a hat and just be the same person that goes traveling, singing, writing poetry, love to hang out with friends and my husband and family. So I am an all-around person, and we don't talk about that a lot these days. Everyone is pretty much narrow-minded as far as one-track mind, but I am of the generation that used to say we want children to be well-rounded. So I am one of those persons, or at least always pursuing to be that kind of person.
Wow. So what inspires you to do what you do?
Well, first I have to talk about my mother and my aunt, both of whom were teachers in one-room classrooms, and you don't hear a lot about that anymore. So after Civil War and Reconstruction, educational system for African Americans and other people of color were pretty much within an enclave, which was in the African American community. And oftentimes those communities raised enough funds or had enough building funds to create one-room classrooms. My mother was a one-room classroom educator, which to me was absolutely brilliant. So she taught grades 1 through 8 and then 8 through 12 at different points of the day. And so did my aunt. So they are my first inspirational persons. My mother used to say I'm a natural teacher. Well, I couldn't help but being around them. The next set of groups of people, I'm just going to name out names. If you know them, give them a shout out and give them roses while they're still here, are my spiritually minded mentors, Dr. Elizabeth Clark Lewis of Howard University, Dr. Tamara Smith, an independent scholar and master teacher, as well as some of my now deceased male teachers, Dr. Paul Jones and Dr. Rothika Smith, and folk along the way, along with my children. But the number one right now person that's moving me, or that did move me, is my husband and I lost our son in 2015, unfortunately, to gun violence. So I look at his life and the environment and the people he was around. That's what really compelled us to start our nonprofit, which is to work with justice-involved male youth. So even in my son's death, his life was still not in vain. So I'm always looking out to try to help mentor, serve, assist male youth and young adult males. And then lastly, it would be my husband. Through various different life trials, he still maintains, he still continues. And if with all of those different inspirational persons and life narratives, how can I not continue?
That's amazing. Will you tell us some of your highlights and achievements?
Well, one of the main highlights, I'm going to answer it in twofold. So I'm going to answer it from a spiritual mindset and then a secular. One of which is I got married at 40. And those of you who are of that generation, you can chuckle right along with me, because there's something to be said when you're socialized to be a wife or to want to be a wife, but never expected to be one. So when that occurred, it just blew my mind. I was like, I am actually, you know how folks say, I's married now. So that's one. The other one professionally is I was able to be a part of a wonderful experience being a program manager at a federal agency along with community partners, where we did an educational presentation at the U.S. Capitol Visitor Center. I am part of the only federal agency that actually had an ongoing day presentation at that facility. So it's always been open to visitors. Of course, United States citizens, and then other foreigners coming in or tourists. But most federal agencies did not have or cannot have a presentation there. I was part of that. So that is a grand thing, along with getting a U.S. Presidential Volunteer Award in 2013 under the administration of President Obama. So those pretty much cap, along with being able to get the doctor of philosophy with all of the trials that go with that doctoral journey.
Yes, ma'am. Those trials, I want to know about them. So what are the obstacles that you have to overcome in this journey of yours?
Ooh, I'm going to highlight 3. Not so much the adoption, because that was God's way of giving me a second chance before I even knew I needed one. One of the first main trials was the loss of my mother. My mother was my family. So when I lost my mother, even though technically she's my adoptive mother, legally she is my mother, that took a long toll on me. Years later, after her death, I was speaking to a female elder at my church. And I was just commenting on, regular stuff like the dress and shoes or what have you. And then I got into a more serious conversation. And one of the things she mentioned to me is, you're mad at God for taking your mother. And I was brought up that you don't have those particular emotions against or about God. God is God. And I looked at her and I said, no, I'm not. She said, you are. She goes, because you're still dealing with a lot of things, and you're still dealing with the fact that you had faith as a little child, but she wasn't healed the way you wanted her to be healed. And in the process of listening to her, I realized how selfish I was, because I didn't look at the quality or lack thereof of my mother. I was only thinking about me because she was my buffer against the world. Nothing hit me because my mother was around. That did not lend space for God to come in. I mean, I knew God, I understood God, so to speak, but he and I did not have an active relationship. It was my mother first. That was a long ordeal. That was over 10 years that I realized I had been mad and angry with God, because not only did I lose my mother, I lost my family in the process, those who I had been raised with, those who I was comfortable with, those who I thought loved me. And as soon as the funeral was over, all bets were off, to the point where I lost being able to have access to my family home. In that same time frame, I lost my mother in April of 2002. I lost my dream job at the time in July of 2002, the relationship that I was in, friends and family. So that was a big toll on me. And afterwards, I kept finding other older women to be that mother figure for me, which didn't always pan out. Some were mainstays and some were a little flaky, as humans can be. The next obstacle, I would have to say, it went hand in hand. It was, and most people don't talk about this, marital estrangement and the death of our son. All three kind of warped together to finally about 2016, because now from 2002 to about 2010, I maintained that I was okay. I was all right. 2010 was the realization that, no, you're not okay. I get married. I'm in my doctoral program, and then we lose our son. And in the process, I see my marriage disintegrate. This wonderful life achievement that I praised and was happy about then disintegrates. And it's, what do you do in the process? So I'm still reeling from my mother's death and losing family, to now losing the husband, so to speak. And of course, we lost our son. It was horrendous. Any other adjective that you can create or think of that coincides with, it dropped me to my knees and my face on the ground. Those three things were. That's what did it for me. But God is a merciful God. So while I have still the memories of my mother, she's no longer here with me, he has done what he always says he will do, is reconcile. So I have reconciled the death of my son to be something of not just legacy, but something that urges me and my husband and others to do certain things in our lives that are different, that creates a more positive legacy in our families. And then also, God reconciled my marriage when I reconciled with him. So those are some of the main obstacles I've had to deal with, along with, of course, financial insecurity, housing insecurity. All of those things get wrapped up in those kinds of obstacles, unfortunately.
Wow. So how did you see through those things?
Well, it's this is the first time I've publicly said this. When my mother died in 2002, I got a call from my alma mater. I went to an all-Black boarding high school, and I'm going to just throw out names, and because I believe in giving people roses while they can still smell them. I got a call from an astounding historian and educator and minister to me, Dr. George Thornton. He gave me a call and said, look, I'm putting together a faculty that I want in order to move this institution further. That just overjoyed my heart, because now I have a chance to not only give back, but I'm giving back to the high school, the boarding high school that gave so much to me when I was in high school. And then thirdly, it was in my field. I'm history. So he said, you're the chair. This is what I want you to do. This is how I want you to shape it. That was one thing. So when I got there, I had a series of students in various different grades, but especially the seniors at that time. This is now 2003. I had a group of young people, and I'm only going to I'll just call first names: Ingrid, Javon, Chad, Kellen, and Sam, and Erica. When I say those babies look after me, because at that time I had lost all of my family. Anything that was remotely familiar to me was pretty much gone, or I was so shell-shocked that I pushed people away. Those students, and I don't know if anyone's ever had this experience, those students would check on me in between classes. Not the classes that I taught them, because I taught them, if I remember correctly, at the end of the day. But at the beginning of my school day to the end of the day, those young people checked on me. And I always have this, and I'm getting choked up as I'm thinking about it. When I think about when I'm getting to my lowest, God always has me to be around children or teens or young adults. But those young people, then and now, they have no idea that they were my lifesavers. They have no idea how much they mean to me. And then of course, as the years progressed, I had others: Ashley, Courtney, Shayna, just different kids sustained me. That was the first part that really got me going and breathing life back into me. The other person, or just aura about them, she was my supervisor, who became my friend, who then became my big sis, and that is Dr. Tamara Smith. So each step as the subsequent years after my mother's death, God would just insert people to add certain things that I thought I had forever lost. So the first grouping, the kids just brought love and life back to me. Then he had adults like Dr. Tamara Smith and Daphne Beck and Teresa Roberts and Karen Christmas and so many other people, Judith, Jerry, Nina, and my sisters, Simone and Amanda. Then he brings this man that I wasn't even thinking about. I said, along with everything else, I've made my mistakes. I'm good. Because obviously I don't know how to choose. Then God brings me this man in the form of now my husband, who actually listened to me. Not only listened to me, but he actually saw me. And I hope people understand what I mean by seeing you. Not only the facade or the portrayal, but he also saw the dark, the deep, the creative. He just saw me. So it's a combination of serving people and then being served, getting and gaining an aspect of myself that I thought I had lost. And now at the point, just starting enjoying life, not keep looking at the deficiencies, but start going, Lord, you really are blessing me with this, whether it's an idea, whether it is just having a joyful perspective. It was being on my knees and really just crying out. There's a passage, those of you who are familiar with the Bible, there's a passage that talks about where Elijah, a prophet who has just done a momentous thing, calling out the prophets of God and revealing the false prophets of Baal. He is now then threatened with his life, and he runs for his life. And he's now calling out like, you know what, God, I'm the only one doing this thing. What's going on? And I think once you get to that point where all bets are off. You can't hide behind the degrees. You can't hide behind a husband or children or family or what you may do for church or your business or your career. When you just go, Jesus, what? What? That is the turning point where you can then start seeing and hearing him. And that's what he's having to cultivate in me, is finally just breaking down all of the barriers, all of the walls, and just saying, Jesus, what? And then listening to him as he tells me what he's doing, or at least shows me and gives me the grace to just kind of take it in as I can handle it. And then also becoming more attuned to the gifts that I have, and then being able to share that to help and assist others who are maybe going through the same thing. So it's a hand-in-hand type deal. Cry out, then help. Cry out, then help. Or help and then cry out. However which way it works at that moment, that's what's getting me through.
Yes, ma'am. I'd love to learn more about your coaching business and your ministry.
Okay. So it is 4 different things that I do. Because I am a staunch traditional person that believes, I am a staunch supporter of traditional marriage. And I don't necessarily believe in divorce. I'm always looking to help people reconcile, first with themselves and then, of course, with their partner. And I have to put the disclaimer. It does not mean, stay in something, at least not for me, if he's beating you up to a pulp. I still believe that separation probably will be good in that regard as you're getting further instruction from the Lord and those who are attuned to him. But the coaching is really dealing with your inner sanctum. So I assist people create new systems of thinking about their inner sanctum, how they go about changing pathologies that they have seen and didn't really see it, and how to change that where they become the change agent in their marriage, in their home life, and then ultimately in their community. So I work with women, and some of my women clients or female clients that I've worked with, when the husband saw the change, they were like, hey, I need you as well. So my coaching includes primarily married women, but also their husbands if they like. Another aspect is dealing with spiritual awakening, because a lot of times we just disregard anything that sounds remotely religious or even spiritual when we're going through something. So my coaching, training, and business also goes through spiritual reawakening, personal development, and now when we get to the crux of it is marital relationships, reconciliation, and I can now add wedding officiant. So we're just combining all of those things is to try to maintain this unit called the family. First, starting with the woman, because I believe, as a counselor by the name of Sonia McCullum says, that women are the spiritual barometer. That is the basis of my coaching. As the spiritual barometer, we got to make sure that your barometer is intact first. And then we go about meeting the needs of the husband, the marriage unit, and your family, and then you becoming a change agent. So people can contact me. I have my website, and I can give it later or give it now, but folks can contact me. So I prefer to work one-to-one, but if some of you want to do a group, no more than maybe 3 to 4 persons, I do group coaching as well. But yes, I love to see and hear when the light bulb goes off, almost like when I was in the classroom teaching, when women go, oh, this is what I can work on, and they see it as a doable task, not this insurmountable, oh, I can't do it. Because a lot of times what we may think is a detriment really is the next stepping stone to reawakening something that you thought you lost. So my coaching is for those who think they have lost something and it's just been dormant. It just needs to come out. So I call myself the front runner coach. So it deals with life, personal development, marital reconciliation. And then of course it would be a grand culmination of helping people do their renewals or helping emerging couples become the married couple. That front runner piece is for those who, like me, may have come from disconnect and now trying to connect. The front runner in me wants them to see the connection and then continue it where it becomes a sustaining legacy and not just this disjointed ebb and flow kind of thing. So that's my coaching in a nutshell.
So I do have a question. You said something earlier about it starting with the woman. Will you briefly explain that?
Sure. If a woman feels at the end of her rope, she really cannot clearly see or listen or hear her husband or her family. And when she's at that state, every little thing that happens, she will take it in the wrong capacity, in the wrong intention, and it now flips into something highly volatile and negative. When she is aware as to what pulls on her, commonly people call those triggers or those things that kind of just grate on her, when she becomes aware of those things, then this new systems of thinking can kick in and go, oh, all right, I recognize that this is what this is. It is not this negative feeling. It could be, something just factual as opposed to emotional. Once you can decipher through that, then you can actively hear what the other person is saying, or actively listen rather, what the person is saying, instead of putting your own twist to it as they're speaking, because then you lose that whole moment of them interacting with that other person. So if the woman is not spiritually intact, and spiritually, I don't mean necessarily she has to be a denominational congregant, but if she's not intact with her emotional wellness, that inner sanctum, which some people call your spirit, others call different categories of spirit, she will lose the battle and the children are lost. A lot of times, if you look at women, let's say if there's a newscast that comes on and groups of male teens are caught up in either a crime or just mayhem, if you watch the mother, you can tell she's at her end's rope, and it has nothing to do with the son. It has everything that she is just about to just blow. And because she's about to blow, she missed something that he was trying to tell her as he was growing up, or that previous week, or that same morning. She missed it because she's not intact. So when your inner sanctum is not intact, too many things become chaos when it really should not be. I don't know how many of you can relate to this. Someone is speaking to you, and as they're speaking to you, you're going from 0 to 60. And your whole face is twisted and contorted, and they're looking at you like, what is wrong with you? Well, because you haven't dealt with a lot of different things that are in this inner sanctum, that one word or phrase or something that they said has made you turn all the way around, like the out of the movie Get On Up with Chadwick Boseman, where he says, don't make me come outside of myself. Too often women are outside of themselves and don't even realize it, and then are in bewilderment when chaos is all around them. I come in to help them understand how to not only break down the chaos, but how to then rebuild the inner sanctum.
Oh, that is so good, Dr. Holly. And speaking of which, I hear you have a book coming out.
I do. I've been blessed to be a part of an anthology, which is out now, and I can tell you that name, and then I'll also give you the name of my book. So the anthology that I'm a contributing author is What's God Got to Do with It? And it's everything. That is out of the Laboo Publishing Company. But my book is Battle or Bread. What is your perception? And this is based on, years ago, I was listening to one of our more commercialized and renowned TV evangelists, and he kept saying battle or bread. And he used, the backdrop was King Jehoshaphat, Israel's king. Those of you, again, who are biblically familiar, Israel is now split into two kingdoms, Judah and Israel. Jehoshaphat, I believe, is Israel's king, or Judah. I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact one. But he uses that story that when Jehoshaphat gets the word that all these different nations are coming after him, he says he now has the opportunity to choose whether the battle is that turning point or is it the bread that moves you to get to the turning point. And I use that little phrase, battle or bread, because oftentimes we think when we're going through this thing, it's going to kill us. It could really be the bread that moves us past the battle, or the battle could move us to the bread that gives us the extra spirited or quickening that we need. So it depends on how you see it. So it's battle or the bread.
That is so good. This second book?
Yes. Oh, my second book it's called Transforming Love. Failuretolever, or lever. Wow, I hadn't even thought about that. That will be coming soon, because I am believing that once Battle of Bread is out and it resonates with people, and I'm putting it out there, so God, you got to do it. Publisher companies will be coming to me and me not going to them for the book.
Amen.
So yeah, I am believing and trusting in God that Battle of Bread, even though it's going to be it's a small book, it'll be a little over 100 pages, but it will be a New York bestseller.
Yes.
Because even in this day of time, even aside from COVID, the opiate, the Russian and Ukraine, all of these different things that we think is just, happenstance, all of us are going through something where we need a breakthrough, and not just a breakthrough to break the immediate. We need something that's going to break through that interior crevice that we don't tell anybody about, because none of us can keep living the way we are, which is in survival mode. We are meant, we are designed, we are ordained, and we are anointed to be thrivers, not just survivors. So I believe that the last book, well, not this last book, but the upcoming book will help folk to see things through my life period, where they understand that thriving is the ultimate goal here on earth, along with, of course, eternal life, having your family and friends intact, and all of those various different things. But we have to get out of the mindset of just impoverished thinking or survivalship. It now must be into thriving.
Just amazing. And all this really sounds like a lot. So will you tell us about your personal life? Do you have time to relax?
I do. I like today, as I was telling you earlier, I thought I was going to be seen, so I went and got my face done and my hair done. So I appreciate and like those things, of course, the mani-pedis and all of that. But there are times where I just revel, my husband and I watching TV and just cracking up at whatever it is, or him clowning me about a TV show that I like. So I like the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. He doesn't find that funny at all. I find it absolutely hilarious. So it's funny to watch him watching me as I'm watching the show. And he's just like, this is really not funny. I enjoy stuff like that. Or we're looking at TikTok, who knew? TikTok little videos and laughing about it. So, and just enjoying family. So we have 4 grandchildren. I can't even believe I have grandchildren, but we have grandchildren, and just watching them grow, looking at how family genes are so prevalent, whether it's watching mannerisms or their smiles and their giggles, or looking at my bonus daughter, his daughter, and just watching her as she is evolving into a beautiful woman. So yeah, I take those times. There are times when people say, oh, I'm gonna leave Facebook for a minute or IG for a minute so I don't even tell people. I just stay off and just enjoy folk. And if not, then I enjoy me. Get back to finding something that makes me laugh to the point where I'm crying. I did that just last night. It is so wonderful to just hear yourself laugh. I mean, that hearty belly laugh, when that one tear comes down and you can't breathe because whatever is being said is so hilarious. I was able to do that. So yes, I do take time for a personal life. I do.
And I wanted to ask this out of curiosity, how do you balance your work and play time? How do you know when you're supposed to be working and when you're supposed to be relaxing?
That is a very good question. I will say this, it changes from day to day. So I'll give you a case in point. Today and yesterday, I was thinking about something that I needed to do and was trying to figure out how I was going to do it, how it was going to work out, because this is not in place, that is not in place, and yada, yada, yada. And finally, I just said, Lord, I need you to order my steps. When I tell you that once I said that, everything, and I do mean everything, all the way down to transportation, my timing, meeting my appointments, getting back, eating something that's healthy as opposed to just picking up junk, everything fell into place. As you get older, and hopefully not just older, but you get more in tune to your body tells you when you need to relax. Your body will tell you when it is stressed. So I started listening to my body. So I know those of us who are in our, not twilight years, but we're getting a little bit more seasoned, and you have these little, I call them flushes. Things get a little hot. I started paying attention to not only my diet, but I also started paying attention to my responses to various different things. So when my brain and my mindset changed, the flush stopped. So it's also paying attention to your body. It is, and those of you who are not necessarily of a Christian foundation, hear me when I say this. God is a higher source than you. He is put innately in each of us a circadian rhythm. And usually when we're out of pocket, we need to sleep, we need to have more water, we need to have rest, we need to trust in something higher than ourselves, and we need some fresh air. Your body will tell you all of those things. So how I'm able to balance is really, I look over my to-do list and then I just say, God, you direct me as to what I need to do. And there are times when, some of us get caught up in self-sabotage. Then I want to be aware of what I'm doing. So he also even brings that to light. It is having a relationship with God and also listening to your body. And then there are times, those of us who are married, and some wives will attest to this. Some of our husbands, speak when they really just need to. And it's also listening to your husband. Because even though we may think they're not watching and they're not attuned to us, those of us who are wives, they really are. They really are. So it's also taking into consideration when your husband says, come to bed. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be, sexual relations. It really could be, I see something, and before you fall out and then I have to deal with the aftermath, come to bed or relax. Those of us who are self-employed, and this is going to sound crazy, take a nap. Take a nap during the day or whatever your working hours are. Take a nap and let your body rest. We're in this day and age where everybody's always going. That is not natural. That's not natural. Your body needs to rest. So that's how I do it.
So are there any final remarks or thoughts that you would like to leave with the audience this evening?
One, I would say, is those of you who are married, pay attention to that inner voice, because a lot of times listening to the inner voice will steer you the wrong way if your mindset is pessimistic. That's one. The other is those of you that have not gotten or acquired or think you need to have a relationship with the Creator God, you do. Or at least know that there's something much greater than you. Thirdly, I would say, even before your marriage gets into a catastrophic state, because all your little hiccups are your awakening calls, find a coach, someone like me or me, that can kind of assist and serve you in understanding and then breaking down the pathologies that are marring your marital union. And know that it is a sacred union that is blessed and is honored by God for you to have an overall mission that speaks and is a testament to others. So your marriage is a mission. It is not just for you and your husband. And lastly, if anyone wants to get in contact with me, you may at www.drhickman, Hickman, recharge and rebuild, all one word.com. Or you can follow me on IG at Failuretolever or Facebook, BuildingUpWives, Failuretolever. But get in touch. I would love to work with you, assist, and serve you.
Dr. Holly, it has been such a pleasure to interview you, and I just want to thank you so much for being so willing to be interviewed this evening.
Thank you so very much. It was my pleasure and my privilege.
Thank you all for joining, and make sure you stay tuned. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
This has been another purpose-packed episode of Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie, a Planting Positive Seeds podcast. Please remember to like, share, and tell your friends about the podcast. Stay tuned for many more Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie.